Hi, this is Mark Moneypenny. This is my comp review. This is my district. I'm going to start off with my district artifacts. Uh, my first one I did, I was a 2.2C. I worked with the district and I came up with a digital citizenship poster. Kind of got the idea from one of the classes I took here. And I really enjoyed this part of it. I've been teaching this part of my class for a long time, and the district's actually going to be putting this, hopefully be putting this out next year. So this was actually just a really good time for me to do this. The next one is, I also did a FATE poster. I worked with the special education department. This was a very interesting experience as I learned a lot in the during the special ed class I took, and just talking with them, and they all thought it would be a good idea to be able to put a poster up as far as in the schools and be able to just kind of go through it. And this was definitely a learning experience, and just be able to see my creativity and getting it all out there. Going on to the next one, this was my doing an 8th grade ELA rubric, and this was actually definitely an experience. All the research had to do, be able to do a rubric. The school district is kind of going through a different one, transferring into a different thing next year. And this experience here, it took me a lot longer than I thought. I just thought, no big deal. I'd be able just to whip this thing out pretty quick, and just talking with just different people on the process you have to do and all the steps you have to do. It took me a lot longer than I actually thought I was going to take, but I did end up getting it done. Going on to Standard 5, this one was interesting, comparing the data to the KSDE, our school district data, and just seeing where our school district ranks among the state is actually is quite interesting. Is we started off really strong years ago, and we've kind of dipped down a little bit. We're on state average with a lot of things, but there's a few things we're well below state average, and kind of depending on the school. I didn't get into that much detail going to school. Just at a district average, we're pretty much fair, but just the big thing to me was seeing just how much the district budget was and how much just compared to the state average. And we don't quite spend as much as the average people do, but I think we could definitely spend a little bit more. It would be nice. I created this video here. This is a recruitment video for this school district, and it kind of just goes through the different cultures and all the different things we have over here in Fort Riley and Junction City. We have so many different cultures, so many different everything going on, and with all of the things going on with COVID-19 and all the other issues we're having with race and everything, I just thought this would be a great video just to be able to put together for the school district to kind of advertise them a little bit. Moving on to the elementary artifacts. The 1.1, I looked at the district, which every school, ever since we have a new superintendent this year, they changed every school in the district to have one vision and one mission statement. So not one school has a different one. So every single school is having the same vision of having a partnership with the community is dedicated to the common goal, learning for all, whatever it takes. And our mission statement to prepare today's students for tomorrow's world. And the core values, our superintendent's been really hitting it hard on these core values, and just talking with the elementary principals, and a lot of them, a lot of the other principals, they are constantly talking about these, and they're hearing about these every single week in every meeting they have. Going on, this year, creating norms. I'd been part of creating norms for meetings and everything in the past. This was a little bit different, where they were trying to create some wanted me to create some norms for parent-teacher conferences, setting them up for what they expect of the parents, what they expect of the teachers, as far as ahead of time what they're going to present to the parents, what the what the parents can expect to get from the teachers. Now, whereas they were going to hopefully try to do this for next year, but it just found out today all of our parent-teacher conferences this year are going to be all virtual, so they're not actually going to be coming in the building, so it's definitely going to be a different environment going on into that element. Standard 3, I did this back to school orientation. I put this together, and it's just kind of just bring the community together, just trying to get the cultures and just the atmosphere of the school, getting the year off to a good start. When I did this, we actually thought next year we're not allowing anybody in the building this year without an appointment. So this is going to be hopefully used as soon as I get my position, hopefully here as soon as a principal. Standard 4, this one I got to observe, I got to go through the data, what they do in observations, all the data they look at. This is just some of the data they look at as far as they have walkthroughs every single month, and they have these basic 5 things they're looking for, and I was able to go through and see where the school was excelling at and where some areas where they were not doing so good at. And moving on to the 4.4, I actually got the opportunity to use some of the technology going through. This is the forms, it's printout of the forms that they have when you do a walkthrough. And I've had some of these in the past, but you can see right up here, you have the principal's name. They're going to be filling in all these boxes over here. So this is actually really a neat thing, and it gives them absolute feedback, and you're looking for so many things. It's just quite amazing to see what you got going on with these. And on this one, for the past year, I've been going sitting in on board meetings and work sessions and contract negotiations this year, and ever since the COVID-19, we've been doing weekly updates. Since 2019 in July all the way to this past June 16th, I participated in all of the board meetings. They were all kind of virtual now, but I was at all of them. These are all the links in there. And with the contract negotiations being the first time me actually sitting through that, those are just quite interesting to see just how many hours they can just sit there and just talk about different things. And going on to Standard 6, this was actually a case study. I was planning on doing this one later on in the spring, but I did not quite get a chance to do this. This one had to do with unethical data that they were going through, and I've actually been on the attendance committee and knowing what you have to do as far as keeping track of all the kids' attendance and knowing just how viable it is. You can't just bend the truth or anything. You are very it's cut and dry with the law. You can't just bend the law for certain people and not doing it for other people. You have to definitely get in a lot of trouble for this one. Then on this one, this is a video I put together. This is going to be used in a staff development next year. I did it for the elementary school, but my middle school principal, actually, she saw this as well, and she would actually like to use this at the middle school for next year. This was dealing with the people first, language first, and just seeing what the different disabilities some people have. And this really just breaks down just how we need to treat everyone the same. And this is actually going to be a good, and I'm actually excited to see this one come up in August. And on this, I did a plan for building a positive building environment. I created the 6 steps. I went through just a step-by-step process on what we have to do to be able to keep everybody going on there, keep a positive culture in the building. And this is a big one here in this district right now, is trying to keep that positive culture going on. And on this one, this is building a professional capacity. I developed a supervision and monitoring schedule, basically of how you're going to be assessing students, and it goes from objectives to performance indicators to means of validation to the process, and it's a step by step. You can go through different levels on this, and this was definitely experience. When you think you just have something down, someone throws just a little curveball in there, and you kind of have to go back to the drawing board. Moving on to the secondary artifacts. In 1.1, this was a case study that I did for AEP 880. This was the cultural diversity one, and this was one of being able, basically a discrimination issue, and not treating everyone equal. And you basically really have to have all the different cultures, and you have to be able to be treating everyone different. And I had some personal experience with having people, knowing of people and not really throwing the discrimination card. They were claiming it, and things were settled. And it was just definitely a learning experience. And this was, I developed a ethics and honesty handbook for the middle school, and this was definitely trying to just go through the Board of Education and the KSD laws and regulations, and you don't want to infringe on anybody's rights, so you just need to make sure that you are going through everything, like on plagiarism and cheating and all the ethical values. This is a huge one. And on this was, I believe this is the last case study I did. This was on a school leader. This was dealing with the evaluation and legal rights. Thought they were being violated. And when I worked in the classroom, moving up, and this is trying to get people. What I'm trying to say is, you're trying to. Someone didn't have access to a room, and when I was working at the high school, we actually had somebody where they actually had to move the classroom because they didn't want to be in get in any legal trouble. So they actually moved a teacher to a different room so that one person wasn't able to get to the classroom was actually able to access that classroom. They're going to actually have access to the entire school. And this one was this was quite a feat here. I was evaluating the middle school code of conduct according to against the superintendent's code of conduct and framework. And there is a link on there is a link, and this is all of our code of conducts right up in here, and this was page after page after page. And some of it was lining up, and some of it I was actually gave some suggestions and saying, well, this doesn't quite line up. So they were trying to go through the rights and everything. And this was definitely a lot of data to look through, and took me a little bit longer than I thought it was going to, but it was definitely opened my eyes to this great experience here. Oh, and this is actually a two-way communication. Basically, the case study dealt with communicating with the community, and this assistant principal had to step up and go basically over the head, and really did it very nicely. Trying to get the community involved. The principal at the time was set against thinking the school and didn't really have to have ties to the community, and this assistant principal opened up lines of communication. This is huge in our school district, and we basically, with all the transient people we have going out through, we definitely have to have good communication. And 6.1, this was a feat in itself, putting together a master schedule. I'd kind of worked on one of these in the past with the elementary principal, working with him on it, and this was the middle school. There were 74 teachers here, and this is just a little glimpse of it. There's other attachments on just a regular side on the links. Just trying to put together the whole entire schedule. This took me hours upon hours, and right when you think you have it down, all of a sudden you find out there's something wrong. And I like my thing is color coding, and I would have the little different things here now to be changing things all the time. This is definitely a feat. I definitely sympathize with all the high schools who have to put their schedules together, but this was definitely a learning experience. Then I have Standard 7. This was actually I actually got to sit down with the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade counselors, and we developed we revamped the career cruising curriculum into the Zello curriculum. And they were going to be using this, and the counselors went in. We're going to be using this in different classes that we went through. And when we had the COVID-19, there was a lot of teachers who were having problems with technology. So working with the principal, she asked me if I could put together some things on step-by-step processes on how to actually go through some of these forms. And a lot of these teachers were very thankful, and they'd never done a lot of this stuff before. That's all I got, and I really enjoyed this experience, and I learned so much. Thank you very much.